Hi, ladies. So we have Michelle, Amy, Amal, Inga, Monique, Jamie, and myself, Ilushka. We'll be discussing activity 1 and 2, which is based on map work. All right.
Thank you, Ilushka, for that. Ladies, so we all received the document, right? And we all had like a browse through what the activities look like. And we all in some sort of way had an idea or just like reflected or got like a flashback as to what has happened in your younger days or primary school, high school, you choose. And like you could like realize, okay, this is what we done, or this is how it went. So, like, if we can comment briefly on the two activities that we received, how was it different, or how was it similar to you? Like, for me personally, for example, let's take the symbols of the first activity, right? We had to like spot where's this, where's that. I mean, when I was in primary school, I got map work as a proper map that we received from the teachers, and like we would try and spot like things on the map and just like see, okay, where's this, where's that. Like we actually had like a physical map, you know. So like we would like just like browse through the map and just see, and we would make fun and laugh about it, like, oh, here's your house, you know. And we can like have like some sort of um conversation and discussion about like what you find here and what you find on your map. I remember there was at one class where we got map work as well, but we all got different maps. So it was nice to have like also like a view of someone else's map and what their map work look like, or you know, those type of things. And like just to comment on the similarities of it, I would say is that we however didn't get to draw one, but we had like the privilege of like walking and like finding, let's say for example the teacher gave us like instruction to, okay, let's walk to the shop, for example, you know. Then we walked to the shop and then she's like, okay, turn left, turn right, you know, all those type of things. And like in your mind, you could like visually like see it as well. And then when you come back and then you would like draw it or like jot it down as to like how you went from one point to another point. So in that way, it was kind of like similar, you know. But like, what is your thoughts? Like, how was it for you? For you ladies, sorry.
For me, when I was in primary school, activity one is very similar to what we used to do, like identify the position of places on a map. We used to get not actual maps, but I remember there was a lesson that we got where we were given a drawn map, but it was very specific. It was very in detail that we got the map, and we had to identify where the hospital was or the community pool. So that was very similar. And for activity two, we kind of not really the same, but we also had to make a map of our own, but the map was 3D. I don't know. It's not like a map, but like it was a layout. It was an actual map, but then the locations like the stadium and the park and that on the map would be 3D. It was still
That,
a map, so that was very similar.
that's nice, actually. That is actually something different, though. I mean, I don't think I've seen something like that, actually.
Same. But like in my case, my teacher was very so she would normally ask us like when we first started off with symbols, she will ask you like, how do you think a building will look? Like a tree, the church, will they have like certain identicals, like how to identify them, like perhaps the church will must now have a C in the middle. School will have like a big S in the middle. So she will like ask us to mention certain types of landmarks and identify it on, yeah, on the map without any key that say, okay, this is this and this is this. So I want to come in there and say, like, we didn't even realize that they were basically training us with directions. Do you used to remember the song? Like in primary, you always have to say, like, stop, you know? So the robot song. Some of you remember that?
Yeah,
Like
I
anyone
I
remember.
know what you're talking about,
I
but
have
that
no
one I don't
idea.
know. But I
I didn't
know
have a
what
robot
you're
song.
talking about.
you cross the road, then they will tell you like look left, look right, and
Yes, I
look
remember that.
left again. Then you may cross the road. Like that was also some type of way how they introduced direction to us without even realizing it.
That was
But
actually so nice.
what I get from this, sir, is that most of us probably we could relate more to the first activity than we could with the second activity.
Yeah.
True, yes.
Do you guys think that considering prior knowledge that learners have, do you think learners' prior knowledge would have been sufficient for this lesson?
I think that it would, yes. I mean, like everyone at the young age, especially now, like have some sort of like memory or like a thought of like where is they or their houses are. Let's say that for example. So like if you would ask a small kid like, oh, where's your house? And if the kid can't say like, oh, where the house is, then remember as the older person you would normally ask, oh, but like close to what is it? Then you would say, oh no, the kid would say like it's close to ShopRite or it's close to like a clinic or it's close to, you know. So in some sort of way, like prior knowledge does like, fall in yeah, because I feel like you can activate just like a bit of it, you know? And in this way, you could have like done it by these activities. You could have just like asked like questions or like, just make a statement, something like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah,
I
I
feel
feel
like
true.
for this, I feel like for this activities, you also need to, the learners would also need to have prior knowledge of map skills and locations on the maps and things. I feel like that is also what they would need to be activated and stuff.
I
But like, what would,
with Amy on that one because if you think of activity 2, when they ask a learner to give directions on where their friend's house is, you as the child, you need to at least have some kind of prior knowledge as to, okay, if you have been to your friend a couple of times and you know where they live, if you have that prior knowledge on directions, you would be able to say exactly like where they live. So I think prior knowledge does play an important role in
I feel like it
mapping
plays a
skills.
massive role because you have to actually go back and like think, okay, I'm gonna first turn left, I'm gonna first turn right. So I feel like it's based
Exactly.
on your prior knowledge.
Exactly. What if you never went to your friend's house before?
what if you
Then
don't
what you
even
gonna
have
do?
a friend? But
I
that's
don't
what I
you
wanted
think
to say. Like, what
don't you
if you have like a learner that like actually struggles? Like, they literally cannot like give any sense of direction or they can't tell you anything. Like, how do you guys think like what would it be like to them when you have to like ask them about prior knowledge? Like they have like no sense, nothing. Like it's just difficult to get like
I
things out of
think,
them.
maybe the teacher could have like put down a compass that
yeah, I was gonna
indicates
say
like
that that's where
north,
the teacher role
south,
comes
west,
in.
east. And maybe play a little game with them first and say, okay, raise your right hand and check if everyone knows where the right, basically know what is right and what is left. So just the small things like she could have made it more practical, you know, like a
Mhm.
more
Yeah, I
practical
agree with
activity.
you on that also because to check their prior knowledge or to know like where they are, you need to ask them questions or for instance, like you said, play a game of left and right to understand like their knowledge of what they know so that they can apply that when they are doing activity 1 and activity 2.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the same actually goes for the symbols. Like I know she introduced the symbol, what it is and stuff, but maybe she could have done something more practical, like have like visual stuff, like a stop sign or something in class, to use and say, okay, right, so this tree right here is a symbol on a map.
Definitely. I think
And if you look,
for that also, like when you were saying that that the teacher should apply visual representations, you need to know that learners need to meet, because sometimes learners learn better when they see stop signs or they
yeah,
see a robot with the different colors and you explain
no,
it to
I
them.
agree. I totally agree with that. Because
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
a visual learner in
even
primary.
making signs like symbols that you can pass around to the classroom that they can just
Yeah,
look
or
around
even like,
at.
Monique, that's actually a good idea. What if she like have flashcards of symbols and ask the learners to identify them, like an introduction of the topic of symbols, and the
Yeah,
day she could have used for directions for the second activity, just
true.
to basically give them the activity and say this is what you need to do. And don't you think the learners would have worked better as partners, like pair work?
Definitely. Definitely. Especially was the first activity where sorry, maybe if one learner couldn't find a say the question was to find the hospital on the map or whatever, maybe the learner's friend could have stepped in and helped and say, look, this is the symbol that's for hospital. Let's see if we can find it on the map. Something like that. Activity 2 is also a nice activity for partners, because you could have maybe find a path or find a way of throw out a map to the partner's house, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I just want to come in there with what Ilushka said, and I'm sure you guys have seen over activity 1 and 2, and what I picked up from, especially in activity 2, is that I don't think the teacher gave enough direction as to
Like
that they need
the
to work in
instruction
pairs, because
wasn't clear
in
enough.
activity 2 you are supposed to work together. Yeah, so in my opinion, I could see how maybe the teacher could try and like implement learners to work together. However, in the written instructions given, it did not state that the learners
Yes.
should work together. So I want to know,
Together.
like, what are your thoughts and on that, and how could the teacher have bettered the instructions for the learners? Because that could cause like confusion between the learners, because some learners in activity 2 they would maybe do it alone and other learners would work together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
I would have said like maybe if they put the question in a with better wording and say work with the person next to you, work with your friend sitting next to you, and create a path to that person's house. Maybe if the wording was like that, it would be different. It would be clearer to the learners to say you need to work as a pair.
Yeah, Ilushka, but what if she just like choose something simple, like directions from the school to perhaps there's a SOBRite to SOBRite, or to the police station, to the hospital, something they all know.
Yes, that
Yeah,
even
like
makes
a
Like,
more
landmark
sense.
close to the school.
yeah, not to
Because
make
I'm
it
sure when they
personal.
travel to school, they will see maybe all of them maybe have to walk past or drive past a convenience store, or they have to maybe walk past a park, like something like that, that they're all familiar with.
Yeah, like I will give her a 10 out of 10 because she used a map that's basically which they are familiar with. But
Or maybe
the
even
question,
if they had
you can go
to
ahead.
give directions to the science lab on the school or something like that,
Yeah,
from there close to the
something
science lab.
easy. Like directions perhaps from the science lab to the maths class. But then again,
let me just bring these points in. Remember,
Okay.
like when you do different types of things, we all don't normally travel or like go the same route or the same direction or so. So if you do take something that learners, like for example, go to the hospital or to the police or whoever, just remember like learners live different areas, different places and all of that. So like their routes will be different to get to like a place. One might be longer, one might be quicker, one might be just next door to the place or so. So like we then again like with activity two, like one would say that it is like convenient because like I mean like more or less they would then know exactly like as to like where the friend lives or so. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Can I just come in
Yeah.
really quick?
Yeah,
Also,
Mo.
seeing that Nisha said that it would be like in it would be
Convenient.
better, yeah, it would be convenient for the teacher to rather use the example of a friend going to a friend's house. Sometimes the number of learners that are in the class, there might be one that is doesn't have a partner. So then what do you do if that one child now doesn't have a partner and everybody else is partnered up? How would they then answer activity two if they do not have
You,
a partner to do that with?
you know, Amal, that's why I was suggesting that she could have used something simple like from the school to the library. Something that the basically the learners normally go to. Something obvious.
Yeah,
I
so that
think
it
I
doesn't
also
rely
agree
on
with that,
anything
yeah.
personal.
Yeah.
Same,
I
yeah.
agree also, yeah.
So that it's more easier also for the learners because some at the same time some learners may struggle with doing map work. So if the teacher would like have to do something that is familiar with them, or maybe that she knows or she can ensure that the learners maybe pass every day. Like for instance, if the school had a church right on the corner, she could have used the church as an example because everybody must at least pass that church, or every learner is maybe familiar with that church. So if they do know directions, then they would be able to answer that.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
and even if it's close, like even if it's on the corner, she could have stated not from maybe the entrance or the exit of the school. She could have given directions from the moment you step out of the classroom or from a certain point in the school. You can start in the school instead of starting like with the school's location. Then it's, even if it's just around the corner, it will still be a good amount of directions if she gets them to start from the classroom. I don't know if that
I
makes
agree
sense.
with
Like
you.
even if it's on the corner, so all
Yeah,
of them would
I
know
do agree.
what
I
they
do
talking. What?
agree with you
Yeah.
on that. Because by doing that, then the teacher can ensure that all learners, they like even that they could like still work together as pairs, in giving directions where the church is, even though it's like right on the corner, as long as they're like working together. Because instead of just one learner working alone together, that child now has another opinion and they can add their opinions together and do activity too.
Mm. So guys, I was looking at the activities that the teachers now doing with the classroom. So activity one and activity two.
True.
And do you how do you guys think the teacher supported the learners? Like, what did she provide for them? Because what I picked up was, yes, she gave a reference map to the class, eh? And like, what another thing that she kind of was going off of for the learners to be able to complete is like this special activity too. She was going based off prior knowledge, and like we were now discussing with a friend, or would have been better to maybe give a location that everybody else was busy with. But she gave, I mean, it was good. What she gave, like a reference map, she used prior knowledge, and then There might have also been a class discussion before the activity began to like review map concepts, allowing students to talk and then confirm if they understand the work. Do you guys think that the instructions were clear enough based off what we were given?
I
I
would
think
And
say
do you
was,
think the drawing materials were enough?
I would say it's too simple to just like plain and simple. Like there wasn't like, I don't feel like there was extra put into it. Like I don't feel like it was. I just feel like it was just like given, and that is it for me personally.
Would
but
agree
Michelle,
also with Michelle on that.
yeah, I also agree with you. But like, what if there's that one student now that doesn't know how to draw a map? Like, I think she could have provided an example, like just to support how it should be like looking.
Yeah, like she could have made one
Yeah.
from her house to her friend's house to show them.
Another way
Yeah,
that she
so
could have
this
also
is
supported the learners, right? I remember Michelle saying that when they were doing map work in during her time, they would like walk where this place is, and then the teacher would be able to explain to them. So I feel like if teachers could do that now also, and like choose a location where it's not too far from the school and they walk to
school.
the school and give that directions, that would also like help the learner understand map work better and directions.
Yeah, Mo, I
Yeah,
agree with that.
definitely. Definitely.
Because I don't think teachers still do that, because times now and times then are completely different. So maybe the reason why they don't do that anymore is for the safety of the learners. But at the same time, I feel like doing something like that by taking the learners actually to the location would like help them more or make them understand more.
And you know what is also like nice about that what you just said now is the fact that just think about a moment where you guys had so much fun on primary school, right? But it was still like part
Yeah.
of education or something like that, you know? It's forever a memory that you'll have in your mind, or you'll always like have a picture of what it was like that day. So I feel like when you do things like that, when you do take them out or something like that, and it is something really fun and exciting, I mean, kids will go home and they will say like, "Mommy, we went to the shop today and we learned about this and that and that and that." So I feel like in that type of way, like kids will always have a memory of that and they would always reflect on that. But in that way, they would also know that this is how I go to the shop. You know, in some sort of way, they're gonna learn something. They're gonna know about left to right, or
Yeah, it's still gonna educate them.
yes, or you're gonna learn about street names that you never took note before. Because I mean, like, yeah, by us, I don't know what it's like by you guys, but by us, we like have street names on the curb, but it's like in the writing is in black, but the painting around it is in white. So like kind of stands out. And in that way, like you would read the street's name, like as in let's say Jan van Riebeeck is the street's name. Okay, so children, this is Jan van Riebeeck Street. We are here on Jan van Riebeeck. We're gonna turn left to Yankaral Street, just for example, you know. So like in that way, they get to learn names as well. So like I feel when you do practical things like that, when you do take them out, they get to experience something else, and they will forever have a memory. So when they grow older, they will know when they drive past the street. Okay, this was Jan van Riebeeck Street. We used to walk down here on this road. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure
yeah.
that's actually so true because that's actually some type of learning because they learn basically how to memorize something, and
Yes.
if you like, I feel like our life was simple, like simple but fun. We learned in a fun, simple way. And that's something we as teachers need to look at because nowadays we're just focusing on the stuff, the work that needs to be done. We don't make it interest. We don't let the work like stick. It must be like a bubble gum stacking on your shoe. It follows you
Mm,
everywhere. You get what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
Michelle, you have a valid point. Like, yeah, I totally agree with that.
one thing I also just want to add is I remember Mr. Perry teaching us in class that like when you teach content you also need things to like support what you are teaching. So I feel like when the teachers like teach map work, by them implementing also going to the actual place, if learners are enjoying that, they're gonna always remember how to give directions because of what they just learned. So when you're teaching the content and you take the learners out to show them like how to give directions, this is something they're always gonna like remember because it's gonna be fun and they're gonna be with their friends and it's just gonna support the material that you have taught more.
Hmm. So it's a form of kinesthetic learning where you get them like physically involved while you're teaching them because it's gonna help them remember better. It's like that.
I
Yeah,
think
something
Yeah.
Amal is reflecting on the SPE that Sir did with us in class.
Yes, I am. I am
Yeah.
speaking about that because I feel like once you teach the content and you back that up with something like actually taking them, it helps them like remember more. And the next time they do it, or even in exam, they'll be like, oh, yes, teacher took us out and they showed us this is where you go, this is how you teach the directions. Personally, remember that in their mind, and which is a good thing because then they can remember that when they are writing exams or when they are doing a test or an activity or anything like that.
That's true because like if you think about it, when you do the practical, right, and then you bring them back to class and you're like, okay guys, let's draw this now, then they would have that as evidence then to say, okay, on that day, this is what we done. Here's the proof. Like here you can see like we drew the map or we drew something, type of sketch or something like that. So they can have that then as evidence. So I agree with what Inga
And
says.
by them like drawing the map or the symbol, it's like telling a story like Michelle mentioned earlier. It sticks with them because they're gonna go home and they're gonna tell their parents, okay, so we did this today. So if you look at it at that note, if we must have presented the lesson, we would have covered the SPE.
Yeah.
And I think the teachers should have considered using those methods to guide us during a lesson, even in your activities.
Well, don't you guys think that would have also made the lesson so much better than
Yeah,
what
so
was
much.
given?
Yeah. Definitely.
So, if we look at the order of the activities, I would say it had a meaningful sequence because she started off easy. She started off with the symbols, and then afterwards she moved to the map. So, what are your inputs on that? Like, I would say the symbols now was now a prior knowledge part that you actually have to know, or they know, but not actually a definition or how to refer to it. But like, if you know your symbols, you definitely gonna know how to draw it on a map. So I would say it had a meaningful sequence.
Yeah, it will be easier to read a map as well because you're going to be able to identify, you're going to be able to know. It's going to be better for directions to follow. Or if they say head towards the hospital or the road with the church in it, you're going to know because you're going to see the symbol on the map.
However, what I want to say is on that like note, I feel that maybe somewhere, will it be in the middle or will it be after the second activity? I feel like something or another activity had to like be slotted in there for like extra practice or like just like an extra, because I feel like if you're gonna go from symbols to straight to draw something, I feel like that the learners is like they still starting only by symbols. You already want to like head to like the last part of the map. For let's just take for example, I teach map work to grade 4, right? And like I noticed they were doing the keys first, which is the symbols. Then they started with the grid reference, and like the grid reference then fold in with the symbols. Then afterwards to say, okay, so when you look at the grid reference, where would the hospital be placed in? So then you're gonna get the hospital placed in, like let's say for example in B2 or like C3, for example, you know. Like I feel like gradually
Yes,
adapting,
yes.
and you can't just go like strictly to the last thing and be like, okay, now we're gonna draw something. I feel like they as we're gonna get the learners a bit confused because they don't still or they don't know about like
You know,
the
that part actually comes in
place.
with how to draw the map. So you have a valid point, Michelle, because I never looked at it at basically at that way. So
Yeah.
Kate,
yeah, maybe she should have had like a middle activity before she moves to map work. Because you actually want the learners to understand and to know what they're doing.
Yeah, before you draw something, I feel like you first need to know like completely like not completely like we all don't know something like so clear, but like I mean just like for some sort of like just extra help for like for the learners that needs that extra help, like first do another activity before you get to the drawing of it, because I'm very sure like you're gonna get learners that's gonna draw squiggly lines and just be like, there's the shop, there's the this, there's my friend, or there's my auntie, or whatever, and that's about it.
Yeah, so true. No? They will draw stock money keys. What is that called? They will draw you a rough draft of a map. So you have a point. No, you definitely have a point there.
You know, I
So
learned
nice.
and
It was a bit more practice before having them do something completely on their own.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that's how I feel is on that point. Because like we mentioned earlier, like this activity or these activities alone doesn't explain fully, or the teacher is not really like assisting them hands on and like guiding them hands on, you know. So like to do something and just be like, okay, so now you're gonna do it on your own. The kids, I promise you, the kids will be lost because they're gonna be like, what? Wow, where do we first? Where do we start? You know?
Especially now with COVID-19, we all know the learners have a setback. So the teachers back in intermediate, not intermediate phase, foundation phase, didn't like cover everything they needed to know for grade 4 map work.
I agree with you on that. There was like some kind, not some kind, there was a setback for learners because of COVID. Because if we look back when we were in school and COVID happened, there were many things that we didn't also learn. And when we came back, we were so lost. So we need to take that into consideration when it comes to these. So the activities 1 and 2 need to flow in a way that the learners are able to answer the questions and not jump from activity 1 into
Like,
activity 2 where they need to
yeah,
just
like
do something.
certain focus points to move forward. Like a step 1, this is this. Step 2, the layout. Step 3, the final conclusion of drawing the map, like Michelle's idea for step 2 basically covers that part.
Yes, and
So,
just to like touch on what you guys are like saying, because I think we are now relating those points to like what is a suggestion that we can like bring forward, you know, as to like how this thing could have been better, or how these activities could have been done better, you know. Is there anything else that you guys would just like almost like recommend, you know, or like just like probably like I've said different maybe, which would have worked for you as a teacher?
I just think they could have it could have done with a lot more interaction between the teacher and
Yeah.
the learners, the work and the learners, they could have used a whole lot more interaction because the
Yeah,
And
like
definitely not
including,
just jumping from symbols into Suma drawing a map. There had to be
yeah,
more
including them
topics that
in
she
the
had to
lesson.
cover.
Same, I
True.
agree with that also. There's a few things that could have been done to strengthen the lesson more so that the learners are able to fully understand everything and have that support of the visual representations and taking them to that location that would have helped them.
Yeah, like the practical side of it, yes. Just like include something practical as well for them to do. That's what I would have like recommended to the teacher to do so that learners can just have like some sort of like idea, guidance, support, for them to just like experience this on a more
Yes.
practical manner as well and not just like on theory, on paper, and there you go, sort out yourself. I feel like that is just not fair on the learner to like at the end of the day to take home and be like, okay, this is what I learned today. So I feel like that practical way would have helped so much in the like for the learners. It would have supported like just their map work skills on another level.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Because at the time when you have something practical to work with, it strengthens your ability to understand more of what the teacher's trying to say at that point.
Yes,
Plus, it will be like a better understanding also.
I agree. Yes, I do agree.
Okay, so are we ready to wrap up now? Did everyone say everything that they must say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I had a
think
good
we
discussion,
covered.
made very valuable points.
Okay, so what I've concluded from everyone is that basically it's has all to do with the teacher, like how she starts the lesson, like what resources does she give the learners to make the lessons easier, to make it flow, and then like how they prioritize group work to like help struggling learners, and the importance of the lesson flowing, like the sequence of the lesson to start
The layout.
easy and then, yeah, to start easy and then flow onto the more difficult things to make it easier for them to understand.
Yes.
Yes, so that's
Yes.
basically
So
all that I concluded.
thank you, ladies, for
Yeah.
this
Thank
discussion.
Okay,
you.
great.
I learned a lot
Yeah.
actually. I don't know about
I
you,
wanted
but
to
like
say
I feel like sharing or
discussion,
input and
and
stuff
hopefully we can
is
use these points.
very valuable. Yeah, to use it in the
Yes.
classroom.
Yes.
True, yes. So true. So yes, thank you, ladies, once again. Hope you all stay safe.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
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 Okay, so recording.